In this series of videos, I'll take you through the process of setting up a NavTech server cluster. I hope this will help you to set up your own NavTech server cluster. It really isn't that hard. If you use this video and the written guide I made, you should be able to set up your own server. A server cluster can process anonymous transactions for NavCoin. By using a double blockchain, the sender and receiver get disconnected. This provides financial privacy for those using it. As the owner of a NavTech server cluster, you can collect transaction fees. Every transaction that goes through your server pays a transaction fee. The owner of the server can set the height of the transaction fee. For the server cluster, I use two virtual private servers. Here you can see the recommended server specs. On my servers, I make use of Ubuntu 16.04. The installation of the NavTech servers happens in a few steps. First, on both servers in the same time, you can install the NAV Coin Core wallet and the Subchain Core wallet. After that, we will configure both servers one by one. First the incoming server and after that the outgoing server. Then we'll make sure we have backups of all the wallets on the servers and load the NavCoin and Subchain Coin onto the servers. After that, the only thing that's left is testing the servers and bring them online for people to use them. In this video, you'll see that I almost don't type out any command, because I can just copy them from the guide I wrote before and it makes sure that I don't make mistakes in it. So I would just recommend to keep the guide open once you install the server and copy the commands from there. Every line in the text boxes in the guide is a command. Only the first one isn't. This is a 2-line command. So just remember this, that every line from there is one command. I make use of an SSH client to connect to my servers, PuTTY in this case. Every VPS provider works a little different. Some will make you go through the whole VPS setup process yourself, and some will just provide you with a username and password to log into your server. We want to set up the server as user, not as root. So if you didn't set up a user account in the installation of your VPS, we'll do that first. In this tutorial, you will see how I just got an email from my VPS provider with a root and a password for it. I used it to connect to my VPS, but I will change that right away. So if you got a user account already, you don't have to take these steps, and otherwise please follow what I do. So I logged into my VPS using PuTTY. Now I use the username and password that I got from my VPS provider. The first step is changing the Unix password. After that we will create a new user account. Just add a new user. To set up the NavTech server, your user has to have root access, so now we'll make sure that it has that. It is very handy to change the name of your server. That way you can later on in the process easier distinguish your incoming and outgoing server, and that way you make sure that you're not working on your outgoing server, for example, while you're under the impression that you're in the incoming server. So I recommend to change the hostname at start. There are two files you have to edit, the hostname file and the hosts file. Make sure to type it correctly. As you can see, I made a mistake and had to go into two files that didn't exist yet. Make sure to edit the file as I show in the video. In both files, you replace the name of your VPS, the current name, by the name you want to give it. I recommend using something like incoming or outgoing for your servers because that's easiest to recognize later on. After changing the host name, restart your server. Just wait for it to restart and log into the server again. We will start with installing the NAV Coin Core wallet onto the server. This can be done on both servers in the same time. So if I were you, I would just make a split screen connecting to both VPS and install the NAV Coin Core wallet and actually also the Subchain Core wallet on both servers in the same time. It saves you some work and it's easy to do. To install the NAV Coin Core wallet onto your server, you will first have to download it and unpack it. I just copy all the commands from the NavTech installation guide. Just copy them and paste them into the command line. To speed up the syncing process, we will bootstrap the blockchain. To do this, you just download the blockchain and unzip it into the NavCoin 4 folder. Once the core wallet is installed and you bootstrap the blockchain, it's time to edit the configuration file. Just copy the lines from the guide and set an RPC user and RPC password. For this tutorial, I use test and test123 as a password. Of course, you shouldn't do this and use a good password and username. It's easiest to also write this down somewhere, so you can easily find it back later in the process when you need to fill it in again. Once the core wallet is installed and you set the configuration file, it is time to start the NavCoin Core wallet. Now the NavCoin Core wallet can finish syncing and you can set up the subchain. If you try to get the block count shortly after starting the NavCoin Core wallet for the first time, you'll get an error. Just leave it syncing and look at it later and try to get the block count then. You'll see it will be successful. So, after we've installed the core wallet for NavCoin, it's time to install the Subchain Core wallet. Installing the Subchain Core wallet takes a few more steps. It doesn't come with a handy installer, so we will have to compile it ourselves. After compiling the Subchain Core wallet, try starting it. It will return an error, but that's normal. first we'll have to edit the configuration file. This is basically the same as we did on the core wallet, just add an RPC user and password. After that, you can start a Subchain wallet. You can also speed up the syncing on the Subchain by bootstrapping a blockchain. The process of bootstrapping the blockchain is a little bit more complicated on the Subchain. In another video, I'll show you how to do it. This was the first video on how to set up a NavTech server cluster. First, we've done the general settings like adding a user and changing the password. Then we started to install the NAV Coin Core wallet and the Subchain Core wallet. All the steps so far have been the same for both servers, the incoming and the outgoing server. The steps from now on will be different for both servers because we will now configure an incoming server and an outgoing server. All this will be covered in the next video.